a serious, oh, come on, hold on.
Proceed, you can start now with the introduction about the topic.
All right, all right. So the topic today we have today now is misandry, a serious problem. Now, before we go for the discussion, um, I want to give what the definition of misandry is, because since it's the main topic, we must have to first understand what you're talking about first, so that we can give our opinions around it. But I've come to realize that in our current society as we are now, it seems as if everybody has their own personal definition for words, rather than having or rather than going by, let's say, the dictionary standard for it. So with that in mind, I will ask you guys, what do you understand by the word misandry? Let's start from there. So I want to see hands up. When you hear the word misandry, what do you understand by it? Moroki, let's hear you.
Thanks, Azrael. It's hatred towards men or prejudice towards men. It's men being mistreated for being men. Thanks.
Okay, all right, all right, all right. So and anyone else has any other definition? Dorcas, let's hear from you.
Okay, I I'll try and keep it short. Misandry, the dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men. So essentially, what Morioki said, hatred because of your gender as a man. If you're a man and people are prejudiced against you, they have contempt for you and a general dislike for you because you're a man, then that is misandry. I consider it to be analogous to misogyny. Misogyny is the prejudice against women. Yeah. So in this respect, this one affects men. As for the examples of misandry, I think we can get into those later, but that's my understanding. Thank you.
Okay, okay. So as Dr. Moyoki said, they both use the word hatred, prejudice, and ingrained dislike for men. Are they the only ones who have a definition for the word misandry? Should we go for it? Okay, all right. So as I'll go by Dorcas and both Dorcas and Moyoki's definition. That misandry is dislike, the ingrained prejudice or contempt or hatred against men. However, just like misogyny, right? Misandry is not necessarily, that doesn't involve these big emotions, right? It's not necessarily a prejudice or contempt or dislike or hatred. It can be little things, like say simply making a generalized statement about men, right? So the one making the statement might not necessarily have any kind of let's say or a deep dislike for men in general, but like these little words, which basically puts all of men in a box, right? Then paints them in the negative light, regardless of how the painting is done. It may be just some small, slight generalization. It really really that much of a big deal, as you might see, but it is really there. For example, calling all men like horn dogs, like men are horny all the time, and all they want is, you know, this thing, and it's always sex on your mind. These kind of generalizations format are misandry, right? They are misandry. Now the question here is that when it comes to these prejudice statements, is there some kind of a kernel of truth to it? Like, let's say generalized statements in it on their own, whether they be misandry, maybe misogyny, or any other form of prejudice. But let's put our focus on the misandry the most. Are generalized statements of that kind based on something truthful, or can we assume that they are all basically simply lies, not exactly true? That's my question to you guys. Are Misandry's notions or comments or ideas based on something truthful? Or do they hold a kernel of truth in them, and thereby comes that the words are in a way or in certain ways justifiable? That's my question. Can anyone answer that for me? Okay, Moriki, let's hear from you.
Thanks, Azrael. I was watching TV today. Somebody had died. He was being buried. Then they were saying that he was hiding his illness. He had an illness which he was hiding. So now someone commented that men hide their feelings, so they suffer in silence. So now he was accused of hiding his illness, and it killed him in the end. So it's like he was saying, someone commented, men hide their feelings, and it end up suffering in the end. Thanks.
Okay. All right. And David, let's hear from you.
Thanks, Azrael. So my problem, or rather, let me just
excuse me, Ndebe.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Morioki a question because he has just spoken.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. So while it is still hot, go on.
While it's still hot, yes. Morioki, so this person who died and the people, whoever was commenting that it was because men hide their feelings, you have not answered Azrael's question. Did it hold a kernel of truth? Was it true, or was it a lie?
Yeah, you can't say all men hide their feelings. You can't say that all men hide their feelings. That's not. I don't think that's true in my opinion. Yeah. How sure we all men hide their feelings?
Okay. Miroki Dokas and David, I think I might have jumped one of. I think the order of my questioning, something should have come first before what I asked right now. Okay. So you hold your answers for the question that I asked right now to the side. The question that I should have asked before this one was that what are some of the example of things that may be considered as misandry, right? So what are some kind of misandrous actions that you've seen, heard of, or know to be true, right? So Doctor, I'm getting that your hand is still up for both these questions, the misandry examples, and then whether the generalized statements may hold some truth to it.
And Azrael, Docas, does that make sense? Docas, are you clear or not yet?
Hello, Docas.
Yes, I hear you, Morioki. I'm clear. I understand what you have said, but I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it in that I don't think it's untrue. There are patterns. In life, we have patterns. It is okay to generalize some things. It's a fact that women are more adept at emotional expression than men. It's a fact. And men tend to hide their feelings. That's how they've been socialized. So it's not misandry to call it out, especially if that was the case for the deceased person. If somebody calls it out, that's how we make ourselves better. If we observe a certain pattern, that there's an unhealthy behavior among a certain group, we call it out. I don't think it is Misandry in my book. Yeah. But I see Neve's hand is up. Now, Neve's hand had been raised before mine. I want to be chivalrous. Neve, will you go before me or should I just continue?
You know there was a question before, so my hand was up for the question before, and now it is up for the revised. He revised his order. He revised his order of questions. So I don't know what you are going. What are you going for the new order of the questioning?
Yes, I'm going with the new order. I'm starting with the examples.
Okay. Then you let me go because I did let you go before.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Dorcas. The thing is that when we say whether these things are right, the lumping, I know that we tend to generalize to handle something, we tend to generalize or generalize the observations, but those are the observations will be from men from South America, from North America, from Africa, from Asia. So, and no, men are not all the same. There are men who will surprise you, and then there are men who will surprise you. And when people say men are only after so and so, it is because biologically something has been observed that men will probably are more open to chasing what they are after. They're chasing whatever it is they're chasing. Women do also do chase, but because we get pregnant, we are careful how we chase. So when these things are talked about, they are also expressing some biological differences, some biological things, and some historical. I would not call them injustices, but I will call them historical and biological way that men have been raised. So when we are observing, I think it should not be called misandry. We are just saying that this is what it is, that men express or are more open about, I don't know if it is sexuality or satisfying their needs, or they've never been told that historically, they've never been told, oh, you cannot go and satisfy your sexual needs. But women historically have died, been killed for, don't you dare express your sexuality openly or chase a guy openly. And then biologically, we also have some things that will keep us from not doing some things. So no, these are misandry. I think it is going to be very hard to describe misandry. I am afraid, because we probably will have to tear it down a lot and then maybe be left with one thing. So somebody has better build that one or two things that can stand the biological, the historical, and all the other things that have happened to make men be able to do what they do and women not to do what they could do. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to make a few comments of my own, but before then, I'll let Dorcas speak before I get into it. So Dorcas, let's hear from you.
Okay, let me answer both questions. The first one is on examples of misandry. I have to admit that I struggled. I really racked my brain to come up with those examples. That's why I wanted to hear from the men, because perhaps they have experienced them firsthand. But in my world, they were few and far between. And this is simply because, generally speaking, masculine traits are given a higher value. Being a man and behaving in a stereotypically masculine way, that is given a greater weight in society than the opposite, which is being feminine. That can have repercussions on men and women, because if you're a man and you show what is considered to be feminine traits, you're soft, you are emotional. If you are a man and you cry or you open up, you're emotionally vulnerable, you are then judged by society harshly. But that to me is not misandry, that is patriarchy. I've introduced another word, but essentially patriarchy is a system in society that privileges men, or men who have particular traits or certain stereotypically masculine traits. So if you're a man and you don't have those traits, then you will face the back end, the negative side of patriarchy. But I'm going down a rabbit hole. All of this was to say that I struggled to find examples, but I found them nonetheless. I still found some examples of misandry. One example is male bashing and stereotyping. I think you guys are aware of the case of Barbie the actor. I think she's called Margot Robbie. When she was pregnant this past year, 2024, and she got a baby boy, a beautiful bouncing baby boy. She's got excellent genes. She's beautiful, and her spouse is also handsome. So of course the baby was mwah. But people were on Twitter and other social media platforms saying that she should have aborted the baby because he's a boy. That boys are nothing but trouble. They'll grow up to be men, and it's just bad. So they were bashing the child. It's an infant, for goodness sake, for just being an infant. So that is definitely a problem. Then we also see male bashing, usually on social media, when men are stereotyped and called certain names. But the phrase I know that is very common is men are trash. Men are trash. I get that a lot. Just this week, a friend of mine sent me a video, and she was like, I told you, these men hate us. These men are trash. And we kind of have a tolerance for misandry because she was showing me an example of a man who was acting like a douchebag, honestly speaking. Yes, he was really a douchebag, but you don't generalize and say now all men behave that way. Yeah, so that's where the problem comes in. Now, when you stereotype and say all men are douchebags because this one man acted like a douchebag. There are also certain stereotypes people hold, specifically that men are dirty, that men don't know how to practice personal hygiene. They don't know how to take care of their homes, and it's usually a stereotype. You know, if it's true, if it's true, then you should say that man is dirty. But you generalizing to all men that men just don't know how to take care of themselves. I think that could be an example of misandry. Please feel free to disagree with me because I'm really digging. I'm really trying to find examples. Another one could be that men are stupid. They're stupid because they are driven by their sexual urges. I remember this movie called The White Princess. It is Elizabethan in nature. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. And one woman was telling another one, I think it was a mother telling a daughter, men are weak creatures. They are swayed by beauty. So you hear this being said over and over again, that men think with their penises. And they've made stupid decisions because of that sex drive. Now, I don't know if this is untrue or true, whether this is a stereotype that men tend to be swayed by their sexuality. But calling them stupid is unfair in my book. I think it isn't accurate for all. Or men being evil, being evil or being violent, like when you assume that all men are that way, then it can be a problem, especially when it comes to cases of sexual assault. Or I'm told this word needs to be censored for YouTube. It rhymes with grape. Yeah, so when we talk about that, there are settings where it is assumed that automatically, because you're a man, that you are guilty of this act of sexual assault. And that's not fair. Not all men are like that. Yes, it is true that most sexual crimes are committed by men. 90% of sexual crimes are committed by men, but not all men. In fact, majority of men are not sexually violent. So when you stereotype that way, it is unfair. I think that's an example of misandry, and accusing a man of raping you. I've used the word, and we're supposed to censor it for YouTube. Of sexually assaulting you. I think that is unfair, simply because he's a man, that we were together, and yeah, you just make false accusations because society tends to have that attitude that you can't trust a man when he's alone with a woman. So there must be evidence. We mustn't believe stereotypes or just an accusation that is based on stereotypes. Lastly, I think I would give the example of child custody arrangements. Again, this is the problem with all these examples of misandry. There's always an element of truth in them, because when it comes to child custody, some men complain that they are never given the opportunity to have primary custody over their children because of misandry. However, if you observe society, often the men themselves don't want that primary custody. Some of them actually seek primary custody as a way of settling scores with their ex to win that battle. It's not that they really want the kid, because most, especially here in Kenya, most women are the more qualified parent, or the more capable parent, especially when the child is really young. Women tend to be the wiser choice for custody. So some men complain that is misandry, to automatically assume that the woman is the better parent and the man is not, and they're never given custody. That can be misconstrued. Once again, I agree. I think we should give each case the attention, and we should look at the evidence. Who is the better parent? Don't care about the gender. Who is the better parent? Just get the evidence. Because in my book, like I told you guys, my brother got primary custody even though the woman was present. And it's because they looked at the evidence and saw that my brother was a better parent than his ex-wife. So yeah, there's that aspect. Maybe there might be other examples that come along, but that's what I have. On the second question, I know I've spoken for long. Let me just give a sentence. On the second question of, is there truth to some of these stereotypes, some of these claims? Yes, I've shown you examples where even me, I'm not sure. Like that one of child custody, I'm like, maybe women do deserve to be primary custodians because they were the caregivers. They tend to carry that burden. So there's that element. And even that one of hygiene, sometimes the way we raise boys, we don't teach them how to do housework. We don't teach them how to clean up after themselves. We call the house help, or we ask the sister to do it. So you might find that there are men who actually aren't like that. But again, stereotypes are never true for everyone. So we should give each person the benefit of the doubt. But there is a kernel of truth behind some of these stereotypes. Thank you.
Quickly, Astros, I don't know how to raise my hand on this new thing, so I don't know. I'd like to speak if there's a chance, but I don't know how to raise my hand.
Oh, okay. Go to. Have you seen the icons down there? The one with the titled reactions. So you click on the reactions part, then there's a raise hand gesture over there. So when you're ready to raise your hand, you just go to reactions, then click on the raise hand.
I have it, but it's not
Is that
working.
clear? It's not working.
No.
Oh, okay. You, when you're ready to talk, just unmute yourself, then speak, or let me know, then I'll let you speak.
Oh, okay. So can I quickly go then, or is somebody speaking before me?
If you have something to add to or challenge, or let's say add to what Dr. or Muyoki and Nevia said, or your own thoughts, go ahead. I'll talk myself later. So go ahead right now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. It's good to hear from Marioki and Deve and Dorcas. So when Dorcas talks about stereotypes, and as a result of the stereotypes I grew up with, whether they're good or bad stereotypes, I've seen myself act differently. I've seen people treat men in the workplace differently. A good example I can give is in my workplace, we used to favor women. I worked in a technical office, and so most of the work is via drafting tables, big computers. So as a woman was pregnant, as she progressed along in her pregnancy, it becomes very difficult for the woman to sit comfortably and draft. And so we always got them better furniture, better chairs, economically, so they can be able to draft whether they're sitting or standing. Until one time, one man came to me and said, that is very unfair that you are assuming that men also don't have the need for special accommodation. And so I looked at that man. I said, what do you mean you're pregnant? This is what's going on in my head, again, based on how I was raised. He said, well, as a man, he was about 50. He's a man of 50 years old. I have a big stomach. So it's like I'm pregnant. And it's so difficult for me to sit and draft. Why don't you give us the same consideration that you do to women who are pregnant? And so that is a mistreatment just because I'm a man. You don't believe that I have these needs. And I've seen things like that also happen in the workplace where we tend to discriminate against men, especially when their duties of, hey, can you stay long today and work till 7 or 8 o'clock because we have this project? And the woman is let go, or you can leave at 3 o'clock because, you have kids and you have what. So that is really unfair. And I didn't realize how unfair it was until I started thinking, we are treating men and women or boys and girls differently based on their sex. And that is not fair. Just like women complain being treated because they're women, men should also complain being treated because they're men. And unfortunately, it's worse. As somebody said, men tend to hide their feelings. So they suffer in silence when it's so unfair. Now, is that a case of hatred against men or just a misunderstanding based on how we've been socialized and raised to treat boys and girls? So that's what I had to say.
Wow. That's never even came to my thoughts. I haven't really thought about it that way before. So I guess I have to thank you, Juliana, for bringing that one up. So yes, there is this unfair element of dumping duties and work on men, and basically expecting them to take more workload than they are obligated to, whilst the women are handled a bit differently. Yes, although I'm not sure if that would be considered misandry. Although yes, it is a bit prejudiced and biased. It's a kind of soft biased, right, against men, whereby we expect certain things from them more than they are obligated to do, whilst going soft on the women. But I'm not sure if I would call that misandry. I'm not sure. Guys, what do you think about that in particular? What do you think about what Juliana said? Will you consider that as misandry or just something else? Something else. I mean, them like I said, okay, Moyoki, let's hear from you. I'll continue later.
Thanks, Israel. Well, I'll say maybe not all men are fat, not all men have big stomachs, but when women get pregnant, it's a natural thing for them to get pregnant. So a slim man, as in, my point is, not all men have big stomachs. Thanks.
Well, Muroki, yes, not all men
Yeah.
have big stomachs, but not all women also get pregnant. Not all men have big stomach, and not all women too also get pregnant. So can't you
Yeah.
say that for the men who have big stomach,
I think you broke. I didn't hear you as well. I
the company
missed your
can.
point.
You missed my point. Can you hear me now, Muroki?
Yeah.
Muroki, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear. I can hear you. Now I can hear.
No, Muroki, I can see you, but I'm not.
Now I can hear you. I can hear you. Go ahead. I can hear you now.
Can you hear me, Muroki?
Yeah, I can. Yes, yes.
You
Go
can hear
ahead.
me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Mm. I can
Okay,
hear
so
you. Mm.
as I was saying, not all women get pregnant. Just like not all men have big stomach, right? So those who have big stomachs, can't we accommodate them individually? This as we do for the pregnant women. Okay, hold on. As like, okay.
You know, a big stomach is like a problem. It's like a problem, but the pregnancy is something natural. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, let me answer that question if I may. Murioki, I see where you're going with that, but guess what? At least the pregnant lady, 9 months later, she's no longer pregnant. She doesn't have the big stomach. This man that is 40 or 50 years old will always have that stomach. However he arrived at the stomach, he'll always have it all the time. So it's unfair to accommodate a person who is going to be okay in 9 months, whereas this person is going to have their stomach from, say, 40 to 60 years old, regardless of how they got the stomach. We're not here to be body shame. The fact is, there are many men out there with big stomachs. And we need, if we're going to accommodate a person for 9 months, why are we discriminating against this person who is going to have this big stomach for as long as they live because they just can't get rid of it? So that this is the double standard is what we're trying to get at. And just a consideration that, hey, perhaps we need to look at things from all direction. Anytime something comes across us, ask, what would I do if it was a woman? What would I do if it was a man? Would I do the same thing? If it's yes, then that's okay. But if I'm going to do different, then I think we have to examine where are those thought processes coming from, either the way we've been raised or what we are reading in the media.
Okay, I get you, Juliana. I get you now. Yeah, I get your point, Juliana. Thanks.
Azrael, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry for that. My network is not treating me kindly.
Oh, okay. I
Right.
believe the next person in line is El Maestro.
Yes, the maestro. Maestro, please go on.
Okay, thank you. So we were talking of the examples of misandry that I've witnessed. Yeah, that was the question.
Yes, that was a question, Maestro.
Okay, so first of all, maybe the one that is in recent memory, after I saw a tweet after the elections, the US elections, after Trump was declared the winner. There was some, I don't know, is Trump a Republican or is a Democrat? I don't know. But is Trump a Republican or Democrat?
He's a Republican, but not a normal Republican.
Okay.
Not really normal.
Okay, I think then the a supporter was of the other side, the Democrats, and he was a woman, and she actually was voted for Kamala Harris, and she when Trump was declared the winner, she was very very upset. Then she went on Twitter and she said she was pregnant, and she said she tweeted that the next day she's going for I don't know to check whether she's the baby she's holding is a boy or a girl. And then she said if it is a boy, she'll abort. If it is a girl, whether it is okay. The tweet went whether it is a girl or an abortion. That he meant if it is a boy, he'll abort that child. That child is like is she's really just she just does not like men. She really hates men, even if she can't even bear the thought of having a child who is a boy, because she said when she's going to check her pregnancy, if it is a boy, she meant if it is a boy, she'll abort. If it is a girl, she'll go on with the pregnancy and give birth. So that is maybe I think it is that can I can call that misandry in a certain way. But then in another thing that is really really common, and I think men themselves are guilty of this, which I always see. You find like if a girl borrows this person some money, this man they just give the girl the money without even batting an eye. But if it is a boy or it is a man who is asking this man for money, is hesitant to give out this money, and not that he is expecting it, not that it is a loan, just money, just without expecting anything in return. Yeah, I don't know if that can you can call that misandry. I don't know, but Danny, some men actually that's why I say actually men are guilty of this. You find that mm, when a woman borrows them money, they give. When a man borrows them money, they are a bit hesitant in giving out that money. Yeah, maybe those are the examples I can think of.
Maestro,
Yeah.
can I come in for a minute?
Okay. Actually,
Yeah,
yes.
that thing that men do when they are willing to lend money to women as opposed to men. Whenever you see a man lending a money to woman, while you know he lend the money to a man, it's because there's something from the woman that he is wanting. Because realistically or logically, men are the ones who are most likely to get loans from banks, because when men have the the financial capability to pay back as opposed to women. Not that women cannot pay back, but like when it comes to the finances, men are more likely to pay their loans on time compared to, or their basically pay their loans final, right? So a man willing to lend money to women as opposed to men, it's just that individual man wanting something from the woman, right? So that's what I want to say. That's not misandry. It's just a personal thing that the man wants from the woman. So that one is not misandry. That's what I wanted to say, Maestro. So you can continue, Maestro.
Actually, I had finished. Those are the two examples that I had.
Okay, all right. I understand. So as I go now, I also state my point of what I've seen, right? That can or things that I think can come as misandry, right? So for example, I'm not really sure if misandry is an issue that we African countries, right, we can say that we face, or if it's an issue at all. I mean, I think I use a leftist word here. Africa is mostly a patriarchal society, right? And even our women, majority wise, tend to think that men are in a way superior to women in certain areas, right? So in Africa here, misandry will not be an issue as it would be, let's say, in the Americas or in Europe, whereby women have a certain level of freedom there, right? Where they can, let's say, espouse or say certain things about men, and they will basically get away scot-free with it. Or the society has evolved in such a way that people are free to think and express whatever that they want, mostly. So it's not the same as here in Africa. This is my personal opinion. So anybody can challenge me on that. But Africa and Europe and the Americas are quite different when it comes to this issue. You can say that misandry, from my point of view, there are many things that we can talk about that can be said to be misandry. For example, when you go online, or even when I've heard women having this kind of personal communication between themselves, their friends, and they're basically mocking men, right? Mocking men using these words that I shall not repeat over here. And sometimes they make these generalized statements about men being idiots, or they are useless, or if all men die, the world would be a utopia, or such like that. We don't even need men to even take care of our children. Really, these kind of rhetorics that I hear all the time online, right? Uh, these words can be considered as misandrous, right? They are misandric in nature. That is, women espousing certain level of hate or prejudice against men in general, not specific men, but men in general. I mean, they are even including strangers that they have not even met or interacted with into all of this equation thing. Now, there are also certain systems that, from my point of view, I can see have a bit of misandric bias into it. For example, the family courts. Now, from what I've seen of the family courts, it's almost the default that the children is going to, or the children are going to the wife or the lady. That's the automatic thing. Then they'll simply give the man the opportunity to argue his case. That's what it looks like to me from my point of view, and from what I see it as. We have automatically made it that the children are going to the men, to the women. We are simply giving an opportunity for the men to argue their case of why why they should have the kids. Now, as the Lucas said, uh, traditionally it is assumed that women are better caretakers, right, of their children as opposed to the husband. although really the statistics are quite different. Like single fathers and single mothers who with whom the children are best with, as in which child has a brighter future or a better future with either a single mom or a single dad, and it's the answer to that is the single dads. I know, shockingly. I myself, I was shocked. I was shocked by that because maybe because I have this thought in my mind that women are generally caretakers, right? So they will probably be better, a better parent as opposed to men. But apparently, that is not so. So there's also that one there. There's another system too that is the alimony case. The alimony, whereby a man and woman divorce, and the man has to pay a certain amount of woman to what's basically subsidize or take care of the lady's lifestyle, even though they are separate. Even though they're accepting that they are going their separate ways, the man is supposed to pay the lady a certain amount of money for a period of time. I don't understand that. I've never understood that. And I get the idea behind it, right? I get the idea behind it. But it still doesn't make sense to me that the woman has lived a certain amount of life with this guy, right? She's gotten used to a certain lifestyle, and therefore, as they are separating, the man must support that lifestyle going forward, even though they're not married anymore. That is, to me, excuse my language, but it is bullshit. That's one instance of misandry within the legal system. That's for the alimony. There's also a lack of support for male victims of domestic violence. Yes, men too are domestically abused in their marriages and in their personal relationships too. Those who are there. But for some reason, which I do understand, though, there are not really much support for male victims. Although that could also be attributed to the fact that males or men in general tend to keep their feelings to themselves and therefore don't report when these instances occurs. They simply keep it in and don't report. Only few apparently do report, but the majority of men keep this thing to themselves. And so, what I understand at least, I'd have hoped that there'll be at the very least some kind of I don't know, basically a move or a push to include male victims within these kind of programs too as well. Do I know that they are, but there are quite a very few of them too. There's also this disparities in sentencing crimes, right? So a male victim will commit the same crimes as a female victim, then the male victim will get a harsher sentence as opposed to the woman, right? There's also that one too. So let's say in a case of a driving under the influence, right? A man murders somebody whilst drunk driving. He gets, let's say, a 10 years sentence, prison sentence. A man does the same thing, the man gets half, or let's say maybe 5 or 6 years for the same crime. And let's say they are also all first offenders. So they are literally within the same situation. If somehow the man is getting a harsher sentence as opposed to the woman. That's also one misunderstanding that I've witnessed within the legal system. Then, okay, I think that's my thought on it. So they are the personal things that, like, let's say, toxic masculinity, kill all men, men are trash. All men benefit from the patriarchy, men are useless. Then the legal ones too. So these are some of my observations of things that I think can be defined as being misandric in nature. Now, as the class said, some of these things have a kernel of truth to them, right? There's a kernel of truth to these claims. Okay, but I don't really see, for example, there's a kernel of truth to certain comments that are misogynistic in nature. For example, women are generally weaker than men. Yet when we make that statement of women being the weaker sex, somehow that is not correct and that's not right, and we shouldn't say it, right? But when but when people when we make a misandric comments about, oh, all men are like this, then all of a sudden, and when men challenge that notion, the women will say that, but it's true. There's a factor or basis for it. So it's like there's a kind of double standard going on over here. Okay, there's a double standard going over here. So for now, that's what I think. Those are my thoughts that I want to share with you. I think Moroki will want to speak. Moroki, wait, Juliana, what's your hands up? Juliana, Lady
No,
Juliana, I
it's
think
not
I saw
supposed.
you.
Is my hand up? No, it's not supposed to be up.
Oh, okay, I thought I saw it flash a bit there. Right. So Moroki, let's hear from you. What your thoughts are.
Okay, thanks as well. I want to share a short story. I used to work in a cyber cafe where there are many Ethiopians. So one girl came in and made a phone
Moroki,
call. Yeah, 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 as well.
yeah, I said, what do you want to say? I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah, I was working at a cyber cafe, a cyber cafe. You know a cyber cafe, yeah? A cyber.
Yeah, Summer Cafe, yes, I know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was working there and there were many Ethiopians. So one girl came and made a phone call. It was an international phone call. Then I overcharged her. But that time I didn't know that I'd overcharged her. So she paid, she complained. Then she paid more and left very angrily. Then later on I realized I'd overcharged her. So she came the next time. I apologized to her and said I was wrong and you are right. Then after that, she started harassing me. After I apologized, she came with her friend the other day and they're talking their language. They are teasing me and making fun of me because I had apologized. So from that day onwards, she came and started like she showed me like I'm weak for apologizing. She used to come and attach me inappropriately and making fun of me. So I was disappointed that my apology made her seem like I'm weak. So thanks.
Hmm. Okay, okay. I'm going to make a generalized statement over here, Moroki. Women are weird like that. Women are weird like that. They will
How?
tell
How?
you that, oh, this is me being misogynistic. I'm making a generalized statement over here. They will say one thing that they want a man who can, let's say, admit when he's wrong, a man who can express his feelings. And then when the man does exactly that, all of a sudden that is a turn off now. You are weak for apologizing, you are weak for crying, you are weak for talking about your feelings. These things happen. So, so I said, this is a generalized statement. So not all men are like that, but some do that. So I'm sorry you had to experience that. But okay, if I was them in the first place, I'd also be angry at you for overcharging me.
Yeah, but I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. Then she started harassing me.
Yeah, so that's one thing that can be said to be misandry. That is harassing, or let's say criticizing men for admitting when they are wrong. Because there is idea that a man should never say sorry, apologize, or maybe a man should never show any kind of weakness. And apparently, apologizing is a weakness. Maybe that woman that you encountered is one of those women who feel that way about men. Don't worry about her. She's wrong.
I was disappointed in her. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, well, she can go and blow her money somewhere else. Ignore her. So I think wait, yeah, Dorcas, your hand was up first. So let's hear from Dorcas, then we go to Endeavor. Dorcas, let's hear from you.
Okay, some reactions to what you guys have just spoken about. I think those are very interesting points that you have made, Azrael. I hadn't thought of them that way. And I now see the unfairness of it all. The one about sentencing unfairness, I think that is very pertinent. The law is supposed to be neutral. In fact, many criminal justice systems use the image of the balance, the balance scale to show neutrality. So the law is supposed to be neutral. When a crime is committed, then you are supposed to met out the same punishment regardless of whether somebody is a man or a woman. And it's really terrible that men are getting heavier sentences simply because they are men. I also sympathize with what Morioki underwent. And yes, indeed, that is an example of misandry. And I have to add this, there is a correlation between misandry and I defined patriarchy. I said patriarchy is the privileging of power and rights in male hands. And not just any man, but a specific type of man. A man that portrays stereotypically masculine traits. What are these stereotypically masculine traits? They include being aggressive, being strong, being able to hide your emotions. Men never admit weakness. You never cry, you never apologize. It's assumed that that's a real man. Conversely, in a patriarchal system, which is the system we live in Kenya, it denigrates stereotypically female traits. What are some stereotypically female traits? They include being a differential towards an authority figure, being dependent on someone financially, being cooperative and apologetic. Now, in your case, Morioki, you are showing a stereotypically feminine trait. So in a patriarchal system, any trait that is stereotypically feminine is bad when a man shows it. So if a man is emotionally vulnerable, that is bad. They chastise you. If a man apologizes, that is bad because it's supposed to be women that do it. Yeah, and that's terrible. It is shackling us. It's keeping us from thriving as human beings. I keep saying that gender norms are bullshit. Pardon my French. There is no Bible that exists that tells you you are a man. You should never ever cry. You should never apologize. You should never ask for help. There's no Bible. There's no Jesus that came to tell you how you're supposed to behave as a man and how you're supposed to behave as a woman. You're a woman. You should always depend on men financially. You're a woman. You should never be aggressive. You should never be competitive. Yeah, you should always just sit back and subjugate yourself to men. No, there's no Bible like that. There are no rules written somewhere in the sky that men should behave this way and women should behave this way. And when you show the behavior that's supposed to be on the other way, then you're a bad person. No, we are undermining our human flourishing by subscribing to those gender stereotypes. So I'm really sorry, Morioki, that you had to go through that. And sometimes women themselves are guilty of these patriarchal norms. They believe them themselves and they project them onto men. So it's terrible. It's the way people have been raised and we need to challenge it. Then there was an example that Azrael gave of women who stereotype all men and they say we don't need men, men kill all men, etc. So that reminded me of the 4B movement, and I have a question for you members. Do you think the 4B movement is an example of misandry? And in case you don't know what the 4B movement is, it is what is perceived to be a radical feminist group that started in South Korea but has now spread worldwide. And the 4B means B in Korean is no. So they have 4 no's: no marriage, no children, no dating, and no sex, no heterosexual sex. No marriage, no babies, no dating, no sex. Do you think that is an example of misandry? Or do you think it's their right to decide how they will live their life, just the way the antinatalists decide not to have kids, or just the way Morioki decides to be celibate, to not have sex? Do you think people like Morioki are doing it because they hate women, or it's just a personal choice? So I long to hear your take on that. Then there was also something Azrael mentioned about alimony, which I think is really nonsense. Just that concept of alimony, it really needs to be scrapped. Like, we don't need it. The moment you divorce with someone, the only thing that you should pay is for the child's upkeep. If you're not the primary custodian, or the parent with primary custody, then only child upkeep. Alimony is such a scam, and it often targets men. In fact, this has caused, there's a guy I dated, I remember he said that he does not want marriage ever. He's a divorcee, and his wife made him, his ex-wife now, made him pay for her rent because she had primary custody of the kid. And so now he's paying 2 houses. It just doesn't make sense to me. How I would solve that problem he's called, okay, let's give him a pseudonym because he might watch this video. He's called Jeremy. So if I were Jeremy, I would fight for primary custody of the child, because it seems like if this woman can't put a roof above her head, then she's not a capable parent. Let him have the kid, and then let him just take care of the child. Instead of paying rent for someone, she's just sitting idle. She's not doing anything. And then you're also paying upkeep for the child. It's just too much. Alimony, I don't back it. Now, there's also another question I have for you guys related to another thing Azrael mentioned, which is with regard to toxic masculinity. This one has been very controversial. So, what is your understanding of toxic masculinity? Do you think all masculinity is toxic, or is that a form of misandry? Yeah, so those are my 2 questions. Is the 4B movement a form of misandry? And is accusing men of toxic masculinity also a form of misandry? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor. So I'll let David speak, then, and I myself will attend to some of the questions that you asked. And David, let's hear from you.
Thank you. I thought that at some point this one would become more fluid. This conversation would become more fluid, but I think we are going deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. But anyway, maybe at some point we will. It will become fluid, or it will start flowing in a certain direction as to whether it is or it is not. I was listening to alimony and toxic masculinity, and I was thinking, I can understand where alimony comes from. It comes from, I've never received any, but it comes from a couple that agreed, okay, you stay home with the child, I'll go to work. So if that is the agreement, I stay home, I clean, I iron, I cook, I take care of everything, sometimes even take care of the finances and all that. And then I just walk out with child support. What was I? Like what was I? We had an agreement here. So I think we should not think of alimony as misandry. We have to look at alimony a little bit more skeptical and a little bit more reasonable. As it, I don't think it is a punishment. It is, we agreed. We have a business that we are running, which is called a household by a couple. And we agreed, these are your duties and these are my duties. So you carry the baby, 9 months, you drop it, you nurse it, you nurture it, you stay home and you do all that. So does that mean that the contract ended when I dropped the child? So now the man can just support the child and just leave the person that produced the child? No, I don't think it can work that way, because I think one of the problems that we must recognize is the historical wrong, where the production of the child, 9 months carrying it and forever nurturing it, was never given, I think because they did not understand biology, or they refused. It was guys. They refused to see the woman as important in this thing that they are in together with the guy. The guy goes out and hunts. The woman can't hunt with a 9 months pregnancy. So the man goes out and hunts, and the woman takes care of the other things. To me, it looks like an enterprise. It looks like an agreement how to run these things smoothly. So later on, if things don't work and we have to go into alimony, I do not think that it is a misandry. It is just that, well, our enterprise did not work, so you walk away with half of it, I walk out with the other half. Now, if you walk away with the other half, it means that I have to support the child, because if you have to support the child with the half that you took away, you received less than half. But it depends on how two people agree on that. Okay. I also see, as we become more and more skeptical and more educated, I don't know if the men are being left behind or the women are becoming frivolous. I would be thinking that as we get more and more skeptical and we think more and more reasonable about things, we put in the biology, we put in the physiology, we put it in the whatever it is, the needs of men that are different from ours. I was thinking that we should arrive at things that are more fluid and more agreeable, other than just a frivolous, yeah, men are dogs or women are, whatever it is. I think when it gets to that point, I think we should just ignore it, because it is not at the point where it is reasonable. We should be at a point where we're saying, what are you bringing in? Or what kind of enterprise, what kind of contract and agreement do you two people have in this thing? So that is where I would think. And I think we should at least be at a better juncture of understanding each other. As for the 4B, I think we probably also reached at a point where people do not have to do the cultural thing, that people have got the freedom to do what they feel that is right for them. We are no longer tied down to those cultural things. I'm no longer tied to the Kamba cultural thing of that I'm going to be bought by some guy who will give my father some cows. I don't want to be tied to that, because their family is going to be thinking that they bought me, and that is not right. I don't feel that I should, even as a woman, I don't feel that I should be tied to that. So maybe these 4B guys are using the same logic. And I think if the logic for me to refuse to be sold is right for me, their logic to refuse to have children and to refuse to have sex before marriage they're probably right. I don't remember the other two. There were another two questions, Dorcas. There was the 4Bs.
Yes, I asked about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Whether all masculinity is toxic, and if so, is that a form of misandry when we accuse all men, any masculinity, any man who shows masculinity, we call it toxic. So is that misandry?
Yeah. All right. So I'm short. Okay, I'm short and less masculine than somebody else. And I ask them to reach for something for me in a shelf, even in a store. Guys are willing to reach something, in a bookstore, they are willing to reach for a book. That's masculinity right there. Am I going to abuse it or to insult it as soon as he has picked the book for me? Or am I just going to say he's taller than me? It could have been a woman that is taller than me, but it also could be a guy that is helping me load something in the car, in the parking lot. That is masculinity right there. And I'm going to use that. I mean, even in the parking lot, you do take a cart from somebody has just finished putting in their stuff in their car, and you take the cart and you take it back, and you're just a woman. It's not toxic. It is not masculine. It is not feminine. It is just the thing that you do, which is the right thing. The guy holds a door for me. I go in and I say, thank you. Is that masculine? No, it's just nice, because I could also probably hold the door for another woman that is coming behind me. Some of these things have to be very, very nuanced because they are not straightforward. Now, toxic masculinity, maybe the ability for the man to beat me up, maybe that the ability because he has more muscle, and that's probably also toxic. Or he just walks out, messes the house and walks out, and that it doesn't pick up after himself. Wow. A woman could also do that. They could also be living with you and they don't pick up after themselves because, or a man say, oh, well, he doesn't cry or doesn't apologize because that is what a woman somewhere raised him to do. We have also to take the blame for that. Some woman told him when he was a baby, men don't cry, and so he doesn't cry. Oh, men don't apologize, so he doesn't apologize. Probably a woman somewhere is to blame for all these things. So I think we have to apply a lot of skepticism and a lot of nuance to what we consider as toxic or as masculinity, because it could just be a physiological thing. It could just be his physiology that's how he's created. And for women, jeering at Muriuki or kind of bullying him for apologizing, you're just seeing exactly. I think that is like a toxic femininity, because we brought the men up not to apologize. And then what do? We say he's weak because he cries. He's weak because he apologized to me. That's ridiculous. We need to know. I want somebody who apologizes. I want somebody who has got, emotions. You have to have some emotions somewhere. If you have to cry because your mom died, go ahead. I will be right there with you. So, no, I think we should be skeptical and be reasonable how we handle things, and we should know where to draw the line with that masculinity. That masculinity stops right at my nose. It doesn't go beyond that. So you can be all masculine that you want and lift all kind of weights and help me move furniture in the house, but it doesn't go beyond my nose. That's my space. Yeah. Thank you. I hope I answered the question, as that was the best that I could do. Thanks.
Okay, we thank you for your contribution in that way. So before I go on to Morioki, I will also attempt to answer some of the questions. So the toxic masculinity question, then I do not know how to say this, but every trait that you can find in men that a feminist will consider to be toxic, right, can also be found in women. Generally, can also be found in women. Toxic masculinity, but you see, there's no toxicity attached to the word femininity, but there's toxicity attached to the word masculinity. And that's, to me, it's kind of funny. If we considering that feminists or mostly try to, let's say, try to break down the barriers between men and women, or they say that men and women are equal, basically like the things that men are capable of, women too are also capable of doing, and yet only men are toxic and women generally are not considered to be that way. I think that's a kind of flaw in the feminist ideology over there. However, as I asked earlier on, that can there be some kind of truth to these rhetorics? And say yes, men tend to be more violent than women, right? You go to prison, there are more men in jail than there are women. More men commit more murder than women. Men basically are found guilty of corruption in the, let's say, in their workplaces or in the government more so than women. So you can say yes, there's a kind of kernel of truth to these claims, right? So while generally men are more liable to commit these offenses than women too also do it. Yes, on average, men tend to be the most offenders. So that's my idea on the toxic community. Men and women in general are more are capable of being toxic. Just that when it comes to violence, right, or all of these negative things like the corruption, violence, these kind of things, men tend to be the general criminals or the general suspects in these kind of cases. Another question that I think I wasn't Dorcas, but was Endeavor. Endeavor, the alimony thing is outdated to me. Once upon a time, women didn't work; they stayed at home, look after the kids, and the men went outside to work. Now, know this. I've, I do not know if it is the case for Western society. As in African society, I can say that yes, in general, women tend to stay at home while the men went to work. However, the case cannot be said for the European societies. Throughout society or throughout the European society, even though women tend to stay at home to work to watch their kids, they also worked. They worked and they got paid. Albeit they got paid lesser than their male counterparts working in different areas. So, but they were not simply staying at home doing nothing. They actually worked. Women have worked throughout the centuries, throughout the millennia, alongside their male counterparts, right? You don't think that they have this kind of demarcation whereby they have like female jobs and then male jobs, and then they are paid differently, but they still work. So there's this idea of in the European world that women have been made to stay at home and they have not been allowed to work, and only men have been the earners throughout the millennia. That's a big fat lie. Now that is true. You can say that that's true for Africa. That in Africa, there it is true. At least to my current reading and to my current knowledge, that whilst the women in the African societies tend to work, I not say put that in the same sense as the European type of work. They got paid for that as we're working and basically working for ourselves, for our own, from fun, hand to mouth, basically. That's per my understanding of the how society in the Europe and in Africa were different from each other on that basis. Now, before we go on, I think we are a bit too slow on our topics here. So I will ask this question. What separates, right, legitimate criticism of men behavior from actual misandric comments about men? Like how do we make that separation? How do we make that differentiation between legitimate criticism of toxic, in quotes, men, of toxic male behavior, as opposed to actual hateful words or hateful comments about men? Dorcas, no wait, Muriyoki, your hand was up first. Let's hear from you, Muriyoki.
Okay, thanks, Azrael. I want to ask talkers, this for me, it's a group or what? Are they a group of women who don't want men or what? I'm not getting it. This for me in Korea.
Yes, it's a group of women in South Korea. They started there, but they have spread worldwide, who don't engage in those 4 Bs. It's not,
So,
there's nowhere where they've said they hate men. No, they've said 4B, they will not marry, they will not have kids, they will not date, and they will not have sex. Yeah,
so
those are the defining qualities.
So which means they keep away from men completely. Because that's all you do with a man. So they have no boyfriends or something.
Yes, they don't have boyfriends. But it's not that they keep away from men because they work with men. they do business with men. They just don't interact with them romantically or sexually.
But I think that's like nuns. It should be a choice like nuns, Catholic nuns. That should be a choice, like sisters. That's my view. Then then maybe the ladies can tell me something. The ladies, when I was young, girls used to be told, girls when they were young, guys are only after one thing. That's what girls used to be told by their parents. Remember, men after only one thing only, to keep them away from men. So I don't know, ladies, is that true or what? Men are only after one thing. Yeah. Then what else? Yeah. Then that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So hold on. Before the class you speak, I want to also address the 4B thing. So in general, I think that people should be able to do whatever they want. So these 4B movement people should also be allowed to do whatever they want. But you can't say that there's these 4Bs that they made from themselves have nothing to do with men. It has everything to do with men. There's a certain level of hatred or despise, or I would say some kind of prejudice that they have against men. And that's why they've come up with these 4Bs, right? I'm not sure how legitimate or how much legitimate their claims or the reason for their staying away from men is. But at the end of the day, I think that yes, there's a certain level of hatred or a despise for men when it comes to these 4Bs that they've made from themselves, like the marriage, relationship, dating, sex. There's something there about men that they don't want coming near them, and that's why they've made that kind of movement for themselves. That's everything to do with men, and as I said, it's a bit of hatred for men in that movement. Now, with all that said, I think they can still do whatever the fact that they want. It's their choice, and they should be allowed to do that. Although I highly doubt the sex part. All these people who are saying no sex with this or whatever, they are lying. I tell you, I can bet half of my money in the bank that half of these women their with this entire movement thing of this. I'll bet that. So that's what I have to say. So now, Dorcas, let's hear from you.
Fairness expert, Enyeme, that is tricky. I'll give my sentiments on the forbid movement a little later in my contribution, but let me begin with a response to what Ndebe said about alimony. Yes, I agree. We should be skeptical. We should try and be balanced when it comes to looking at this issue. But in my book, I think alimony is unfair. I still think it's unfair. I liken it to the situation of an employee who has been getting certain benefits from their employer. They have a contract, and for the duration of the contract, they are eligible to certain financial benefits. But the moment the contract ends and the employee is no longer working for the employer, then the benefits, the financial payments terminate. That's the same thing with marriage. For the duration in which one is married, if they are taking care of the home, they are tending to all the things that house management, and this is not to downplay being a housewife, it's a lot of hard work. So all the work they are doing there, they might have come to an agreement with the husband that he's going to compensate her, or even if he doesn't compensate her financially, like giving her salary, he takes care of her needs. He pays for everything that she requires. But that is for the duration of the contract. The moment the marriage ends, she's no longer able to provide those services. So why should somebody continue to pay the employee who has left the organization continually, chronically, simply because they were married to them? It just doesn't make sense to me. To me, the focus should be on the child. Take care of the child, focus on the child's well-being. Otherwise, we incentivize divorces and gold digging. Yes, some people have plagiarized that term, but it's there. There are women who target rich men, get married to them for a short time, maybe even 1 year or a couple of months, divorce him and take half his money. And on it goes. It's not fair, yet he's still paying for the child's upkeep. The contract between you and the wife is over. So if he's no longer receiving those benefits from the wife, then he should not be paying her. But because they have a child together, he should take care of the child. So that's my view on alimony. Now, I wanted to address the issue of toxic masculinity as well. First, I have to qualify this. I think this concept of masculine and feminine, I challenge it. I don't think there are qualities that are for men only or for women only. That's the reason why I have issues with how transgender people define what is a man and what is a woman, because they base it on masculinity and femininity, and some of those qualities, some of those traits are just based on gender stereotypes. It is not carved in stone. A woman can be aggressive. A woman can love sports. A woman can cut her hair short. A woman can smoke weed. Yeah, and it doesn't make her less of a woman, or it doesn't even make her masculine. It's just who she is. It's her personality, or vice versa. A man may like to cook. He may like to keep his house tidy, and he may be emotionally intelligent, and he may apologize, or he may be emotionally vulnerable with people. That doesn't make him a woman, or doesn't make him feminine. I think we shouldn't be so narrow in our thinking that, oh, these qualities are for women, these qualities are for men, these ones are masculine, these ones are feminine. So if the reverse is shown, then that person is weak, or they're not who they purport to be. They're not men anymore if they are keeping to the house. Or I'm seeing Azrael saying he loves to cook. Yes, the way to a woman's heart. Forget about what they say. It's the way to a man's heart. It's also the way to a woman's heart. And there's a guy I know who says if he wants to get laid and he's brought a woman home, forget about buying her alcohol. Cook for her. That is a shortcut. Anyway, so that's what I need to qualify my statement with, first of all, that I think this putting people in boxes and saying being masculine is being strong, being physically, being competitive, ambitious, blah, blah, blah. I think those are stereotypes. With that said, for the sake of the discussion, just so that we can keep the conversation going, I'll grant them that those stereotypes, there are certain stereotypes which are perceived to be masculine, and in my book, they're not toxic. What are they? Being aggressive. Being aggressive, you're aggressive about life. You don't give up easily. I think that's a good thing. And both men and women need to adopt that trait. We tend to kill that trait in girls as we raise them. We need to encourage them to be aggressive. Being competitive, closely associated with being aggressive. I think competition is good. Competition keeps you on your toes. It makes you innovative. So it's not toxic masculinity. Independence. Most men, it is expected that they'll be independent. Being masculine is often associated with being financially independent. I think all humans should be independent, financially independent. Don't put such an important aspect of your life in the hands of someone else, whether you're a man or you're a woman. So that's not a toxic, stereotypically masculine trait. Being physically fit. Yeah, I think everybody should endeavor to be physically fit. Those are not toxic. But then there are other traits that are toxic. One of them that we have discussed is emotional suppression. When men suppress their emotions, it keeps them from addressing psychological issues they build up, and this is why there's an overrepresentation of men in suicide cases, because they're not venting out their emotions. So that is toxic. That is when you expect men to shut up, be quiet. The man has lost his spouse, or he has lost his father, and he's not supposed to talk about it. He's supposed to just be strong. I think that is toxic. Anything that comes in the way of human thriving becomes toxic. Toxic masculinity to me is masculinity gone awry. Masculinity that is keeping men from thriving. So another example would be violence. Violence, bullying, and just dominating people physically. Unless it's in a boxing ring where there are rules. But any other situation, I think unless it's in a boxing ring or it's in war where that's expected. But in any other situation, then I think violence is an example of toxic masculinity. So in a nutshell, not all masculinity is toxic, just the ones that come in the way of human thriving. But as I said, I contest this idea of masculine and feminine. I really hate femininity gurus. They are mushrooming everywhere on TikTok. Yeah, you ladies, that a man expects you to go Dutch on a date. That's masculine. Don't accept it. Thrive in your femininity. They call it divine feminine. Never accept, never let the man tell you to pay for your bill. No, that's masculine. Never do it. Oh, these are stereotypes. These are stereotypes. There's nowhere where it has been written that women can't
So
say
quick
their own child.
quick question to the ladies here. I hear that you ladies have at least you have a problem with men who have very good relationships with their mothers. So men who are close to their mothers. Is that true? That you don't like us, or you don't consider us to be like very good friends of partners?
Personally, I think it depends on whether there are boundaries in the relationship. Of course, it's a good thing to have a good relationship with the women in your life. Your mother being the primary female in your life, it's a good thing, definitely. To me, it's not a problem. But when the mother crosses the boundaries and controls his life, that he has to check with his mom whenever he's making any decision. You might be married to him, but it's really the mother who decides everything, the curtains that you're buying, the neighborhood you're living in. She has to approve. Now that is a problem. Yeah, that's a man child. And we will definitely not get along with such a person. Anyway, let me finish on the points I was making. Where was I going? Which was the last one? 4B movement. So I think there are aspects of the 4B movement that don't have anything to do with hating men, but there are others that do. So it is no marriage, no children, no dating, and no sex. Now, for no marriage, I don't think you would blame women for opting out of a patriarchal system or an institution, in this case, marriage, which is patriarchal in nature. South Korea is highly patriarchal. When the woman is married, she's expected to carry the lion's share of domestic chores, of child rearing, while still working. Yet the man, all he does is just chill. Oh, okay, he works. All he does is work, but when he gets home, he does nothing. He'll not be supportive. And they are very adamant about those roles. Yeah, they're not as flexible. At least here in Kenya, I'm meeting especially the younger generation, millennials and below. If somebody is willing to meet you, they're flexible. You can explain that you don't want marriage in the traditional way, and they would be willing to negotiate or to find a way that works. But over there, they're really strict about it. You will not get support. You will not get support from the workplace. And then, they have a crazy working culture. Koreans work themselves to death. So the moment you bring a child into the picture, and marriage, where you're expected to take care of your husband, it is essentially slavery. So I definitely support those women. Their society refused to improve marriage. So it is definitely within their right to opt out of marriage. Then even child rearing, same story. They don't get support from their organizations. They in fact get punished for having kids, and you don't also get help from your spouse. It's just your job, you yourself and you. So I definitely understand where they're coming from, even if it means that the Koreans will become extinct within the next century, I'm told. It's up to the Korean government to decide to change things. If they refuse, too bad. So it's well within their rights. And it doesn't have to do with misandry, actually. Then dating and sex might have some connotations, but this is their logic. Their logic is that when you have sex with a man, you are predisposing yourself to the risk of pregnancy and having those kids which they do not want to have, right? Of course, it can be argued that we have contraceptives, but the the issue of sex and dating also comes with other patriarchal norms. And in Korea specifically, we have a stalker problem and safety concerns. There are very many stalkers, and women put their lives at risk, their security at risk when they meet these men, especially in the modern world where it's via online dating. Online dating has very many risks. So I think it's well within the right to opt out of dating or sex, but there's an element of misandry, I think, here when you assume that all men are like that all men might jeopardize your safety. Yeah, they might jeopardize your safety, or they could have all those problems that are associated with the dating scene in Korea. So there's that stereotype, there's that element of a stereotype. But if somebody prioritizes her well-being, it is well within her rights. I'm like, yeah, good for them. I would personally get behind. What would I get behind? Marriage, as it's traditionally defined in their society, opting out of it. Children as well, if you're not getting any support. But now that one of sex, that's the one I'm like, this for me, I cannot survive in that one. Very tricky. So anyway, let me leave it there. I know I've spoken a lot. I had one more question for you all. Maybe it was in the moderators list, I don't know. Because the time, okay, we have around 20 minutes to the end of the meeting. So there's one question I have, which is, do you guys think that feminism is synonymous with misandry? You know, there are people who think feminists are man haters. Yeah. So do you think feminism is synonymous with misandry? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I'll answer that question before we go forward. So from my personal point of view, right, I think that feminism has changed over time, as with any other ideology or any other movements, has changed over time. Okay. So as time goes on, the ideas behind these movements, the particulars or the individual or the specifics within these ideologies have changed a bit over time, right? So I said that once upon a time it used to be basically like this kind of super patriarchal society where women had very little rights, very little privileges, and men had most of it. So they're basically fighting for this kind of right that men had that women didn't have, so that women will also have these rights too, right? However, in this kind of society that we have, the thing is, I'm not sure of whether we should or of where we are tackling this now. As in, are we tackling it on the social level or on the legal level? Because legally, I think that in most African countries and most African societies, because we live in Africa, men have, I would say, the same rights as women, as in
Azrael, are you there? We can't hear you.
In the legal aspect of things, come to the social setting, that's in the interpersonal relationships. So I'll say difference there, where men are still superior,
Missed your point.
superior or above or
missed your
better
point.
than
Azrael, like the last two sentences, you are muted. For the last two sentences.
Okay. Then I think of things. In the legal aspect of things, I think men and women have the same treatment or the same laws. We are all equal under the law. So the same things that men are rightful to, women are also rightful to. Although I put also here that men have certain privileges in the legal system that women don't. As men also have certain privileges and rights that men also don't have over there. So where the law is concerned, it is balanced over there, but it's different when it comes to the social setting, as in our interpersonal relationship with each other. That's where things get a bit muddy there. So in our social lives, which will include our interpersonal lives, in religion or are better,
We
right? So
have lost you
there we
again.
have that kind of thing over there to do. Really,
Aswell,
again.
we've lost. Yes, last sentence. Just the last one sentence.
So you heard my legal my legal thing.
Yes, the legal one we had.
Okay. So I said that when it comes to the social life and the interpersonal life, then that's where it's different. Men and women are treated, men are treated differently from women. Men are taught to be superior or better than women in all things, really. That's where the social system, and this permeates through our relationships, even in our family relationships, right? In our friendships, and in most importantly in our religions, where men are taught to be superior, better, the head, all of these, all of these superscript words over the ladies or the women. So that's my answer. We talk about the European world. They have it easy. They have things there, equal rights over the both their legal systems and both their social lives there. So them when the white women talk about their women issue over them, me, I don't even listen to them. I don't bother listening to them because I don't really believe anything that they say over there. But when it comes to our Africa here, yes, our African ladies have really big issues when it comes to with their social interactions with men and being made to feel inferior and be inferior to our black brothers over here in Africa. So that's my answer to Dr. question. All right. Ndeve, let's hear from you.
Yes, feminism. So, first of all, when you say out here, you will not listen to white women, quote unquote, because you think or you imagine that here that problem has been sorted out. No, that problem has been highlighted by statistics. So yes, statistics has just statistics just throws the numbers at us, and then we know that there is the issue is all over. And this is why it is because of historical, religious issues that are from way back from our, maybe from since we stepped out of the water, we stepped out with those problems. And they've just been going on and stronger because when you think about feminism, before I say anything about feminism, think about feminism as a pushback by women from being not pushed back to, but just being what's the word I want? Not to finish. Like we're not finished, but we are we are our place is very much diminished, and this feminism is fighting so that we can have our place, so that we have a modicum of equality, particularly now remember reproductive rights? Yes, if women are not going to fight their reproductive rights, I do not think that anybody is going to fight for our reproductive rights, because we are the one who are we are the female, right? And we also have to focus on gender equality, economics, so that we have a little bit of economic, so that we don't have to depend on a man. That it used to be that if you didn't marry, you were done for. You had nobody to care for you. But we don't want to keep those things up in 2025. We want women to have economic equality, and so that a woman can decide, oh, I'm going to marry David. And and then I say, okay, this is how it is going to happen. And he's not going to pay dowry, and this and this and that. That is what we want for ourselves. And we are going to have children, or we are not going to have children. And I'm able to talk to David about A, B, C, D personally, without feeling that, oh, he's a man or the other thing. So because I'm getting equality, I have equality in this situation. I'm working, so I have economic equality. I am going to have to mention India and fighting sexual harassment and violence. That is just, that has gone completely out of, it's not even in the scale, like it has completely gone out of scale. And it is because, I don't know if there is a lot of feminism in India, if the feminists are fighting, but it shouldn't even be left for India alone. Because even myself, and I'm sorry to say this, that when I see Indian men here, I'm sorry, that is exactly how I think. I think, are they thinking, yeah. So I think that this can't even be a fight that's left to the Indian women alone. It has to be a feminist fight, to fight against the violence against women in India. And I think that men definitely can see why we need to fight this thing. And therefore, as they support our feminism, then we will not need to have anybody throwing any words against the men, even if biologically, psychologically, physically, they are predisposed to do some things. Then maybe because they are on our side, on our feminist side, then we also are going to adjust ourselves and not look at it in misandric, and not be so misandric. So yes, that's my stance on feminism. And it has evolved for sure, but it is still fighting the same old historical injustices of women being being minimized. Yeah, being minimized. Thank you.
All right. So in Devi, I've heard you, but in Devi, um, I don't really think that you really got what I said. For example, I said that in Africa here, especially in Africa here, right, there is still feminism needed over here. Although, like I said, it is in the social sense, not in our legal sense, because in our legal sense, right, I don't know, for at least from my part of the world in Ghana here, our women are equal under the law to our men. All the privileges and rights and all of these things that the men have, our women too have. There are certain privileges that only men also enjoy. There's certain privileges that only women also enjoy. So there's a kind of equal footing over here, so far as our constitution and our legal system is occurred, where both our men and women enjoy the same thing. The only difference is when it comes to our social lives, right? Our individual existence. That's where the things get a bit muddy, right? So even though in the legal sense we are supposed to be equal, when it comes to our interpersonal relationship, it's quite different. Men are still considered to be superior than women, right? That was my point that I was trying to make. Although he did bring a very good point about what's going on in India and these Asian countries as well. India is said to be said to be the rape capital of the world because of their rampant rape cases that has been going there over and over and over and over again. And the men who do this majorly do not get punished as they should. So when it comes to India over there, they really do need feminism over there because the women are not being treated or they are being treated horribly over there. I understand that part. So I think what I'm saying that I think when it comes to feminism, right, is I don't know if you're taking it on a worldwide basis, as in feminism for the whole world or feminism for individual countries or individual parts of the world, right? Because when it comes to Europe, it's a quite different thing altogether than Africa or say Asia, for instance. It's wholly different, right? It's totally different from what the women there and the women over here are going through.
It is true.
And I think we yeah, David, go on.
It is true, but anytime you pull out the statistics, so Europe, by the way, Europe does much better than America, North America, even than Canada all the time. But even in Europe, when you pull out the statistics and you find out how much a woman earns to the euro compared to the man, you're going to find inequality because even if the letter of the law is there, and even the spirit of the law is there, the problem is always with the society, the social things that tie us to our past. That say, oh, women are like this. Women can't work in engineering. Women can't be doctors. Women also must only be a nurse. They can't be a surgeon. All those things, even in Europe, you will find them there. Maybe they are just faster in unraveling themselves from those ties from the past. They are faster in doing that. But you take the statistics in Canada here, you're still going to find that we are earning less. Women are earning less. And it is all because of the societal. The law is there. You can have all the law you want. You can have the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. But it is a society. The problem is the society. That is the hard part to do that. And that's where we need the men, because it is the men that are against some of these changes.
Indeve, I am quite familiar with the Canadian studies when it comes to the earning difference with the gender thing, with the male and the female. And from what I've understood from the articles that I've read, it is not a discriminatory thing. It's not something that is targeting or deliberately being targeted at women. It's mostly the choices that women themselves individually make when it comes to, let's say, their professional choices and the choices that they make even within the said profession when they choose it. For example, when it comes to the earning thing, women generally tend to get pregnant and then they fall out of the labor force for a period of time, right? And when they get back to the labor force, they don't really get back the position that they were in. They are demoted a bit down the ladder before they have to earn their way back to their spot or even surpass it. And also, that will also that contributes to women earning lesser than men, because men do not get pregnant. And as we have already discussed, when it comes to the parenthood thing, women are generally the ones who stay at home to take care of the kids while the man is still working. I mean, somebody has to bring in money, right? Somebody has to bring in money whilst the child is in its early stages, and the man is not working anymore. So that responsibility is thrown on the man to take care of that. Also the fact that women generally, or in this case, Canadian women generally tend to take time off work, whilst the men tend to take on more responsibility than is initially in their contracts. Men tend to work overtime more than women. All of these factors will contribute to the males earning higher than the females. This is not about some kind of misogynistic thing which is going on in the country, or some kind of attack on women generally. It is simply the individual choices that men and women make which contributes to the difference in their earning, the difference in their earning. This is what the gender pay gap is actually supposed to be about. Instead of the idea that women are being paid less for being women, right? So with the economic thing in there, I don't really agree with you there. It's not a problem in Canada.
But it is a society. For me, I was putting it as a societal problem, that there are too many things in the society that keep the woman down. Even before they come to the workplace, there is too many things that keep the woman down and elevate the man to the detriment. Well, elevate the man, not necessarily to the detriment of the woman, but generally elevate the man and tell them that they can, but it did not tell the woman that they can. It's a society. For me, it is a societal thing. It's how the society, the march of the society.
Well, like with the Canada, I think. But you also understand that Canada has been for almost a century now been really egalitarian. So they've really given both the men and the women
Azrael, we've
quite a
lost
lot
you
of
again.
choices. Can you hear me now, Doctor? Because I can hear you.
Azrael, we've lost you.
Doctors, can you hear me now? Because I can hear you.
Are you guys hearing?
I can hear you. I can hear Azrael.
Yeah, I can hear you, Doctors. I can hear Indeve, but I don't know how you're not able to hear me. Yeah.
I can't hear him. Me, I can't.
Really? I can hear all of you. So
what is wrong with my?
I can't hear him also. Me, I can't hear him.
Really? Okay. Because I can hear Indeve and Julius that
then there's a problem with your device, Azrael.
Doctors, can you hear me now? Because I can hear you. Doctors, can you hear me?
I think there's something that allows laptops to hear, but not phones.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Doctors, can you hear me now?
Azrael, half of us can't hear you.
Really?
Half of us can't hear you.
That's a problem. Okay. So,
and David can still hear him.
Doctors, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi.
So what's going on? David can hear me, Jana can hear me, but Doctors and Moriki can't hear me. What do you do indeed?
That is. Juliana and
David, can you still hear me?
And can you hear us now? I don't know if you can hear us.
I can still hear you. I can hear everybody.
So how come they can't hear me? I don't understand this.
Is it a Canada thing?
Okay.
It's discriminatory.
Yeah. Is this Misandry? What? Misandry and misogyny. Azrael, now what do we do?
Okay, wait.
Or could
Doctors,
you
can you hear me now?
your device to see whether you can now include the rest of us?
Okay, hold on. Can you hear me now, Doctors?
Oh dear. We are at an impasse.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can.
Oh, so why can't they? I don't understand.
Oh dear. Because he's gone mute on my end. He's mute.
Okay, then in David, tell them that I'm going to log off. Then log in again.
Okay. Okay. He's going to log off and he'll log on again.
Okay.
Just wait right there.
Sawa.
Hold on.
Are we back? Can you all hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, and I can hear you now also. Me too.
Dorcas, can you hear me now?
Yes, finally.
All right. So we can continue. Okay. So so there was this case when it came to, I think, the US soccer team, their female team, right? They complained about being paid less than their male counterparts. So when they complained about that, an investigation was launched, right? An investigation was launched into this whole thing. And what they found out was that, right, the women were actually being paid more
He
than
disappeared.
the men. This idea that they were being paid.
Azrael, we lost you for
Okay,
like 2 seconds.
Doctors, can you hear me now again? Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So this, to me, this gender pay gap idea is a very dangerous ideology. It is very dangerous because many women or many female women organizations have believed it, and they have they are trying to do something about it legally, and they've been very much disappointed. Like I said, the US soccer team, their female football team, had this idea in their head that they were being paid lower wages than their male counterparts. They thought it was discriminatory. They quoted the whole gender pay gap thing. Then when they actually did the investigation, they found that they were being paid more relative to what their men were being paid. Right? Yeah. So where they get this idea of the gender of them having a gender pay gap within their STEM from? It's from this whole gender pay gap ideology, this whole feminism thing that's where they got it from. So when it comes to the gender pay gap, I think that we should really take our time to look into it from country to country and see if there's really a discrimination going on towards our ladies. If they are being paid less simply for being women, or if they are being paid less for things which are in relation to their sex, right? Rather than simply generalizing the whole item that gender pay gap, therefore all women are suffering from this thing worldwide. I think that we should really be careful, and to me, it's a very dangerous thing. The US soccer team could have just kept quiet and have continued to be paid more than their men as were being paid. You understand me? But because they had to have to be victims, they opened their mouth, they talked, and now they are being paid less. Just as they are actually supposed to be paid lesser than their male counterparts. So that's the whole gender pay gap thing. For me, that's where I think it is. I think it is. And maybe I'm sure you say, but it's bullshit. That's what I believe it to be. It has been peddled for so long that people just believe it just like that. Even though it has been debunked multiple times, every time it comes up, it's been debunked in the sports department. It has been debunked in the workplace, as in the office department. It has really been debunked in every work environment so far all around the world, that women are not being paid less than their male counterparts. They're all being paid as they are due. That's my ideology. That's my belief, and what's actually happening when it comes to the gender pay gap. But before we move forward, I have to. I think our time is, so we have to move forward a bit. So, a question to the panel. Is misandry really an issue? Like, is this something that we must really put so much energy on? Is it a societal issue? Is it something that we need to be concerned with, as opposed to misogyny? Is it really something that immediately that immediately demands our attention and needs to be seen to? I need you to answer this question, both in our legal system and in our social life, being being interpersonal or religious wise. So, Dorcas, I'll hear from you. No, I think Muroki will talk less. So, Muroki, let's hear from you. Then we'll go to Dorcas.
Thanks, Azrael. Then the ladies asked a question: is it fair to tell a teenage girl that men are after one thing only? Is that misandry? Because I remember girls were told by their parents, men are after one thing only. So is that misandry? Then about feminism. You see, I thought of this topic because in the last 2 months in Kenya, the last year, there was this thing called femicide, because there are many women were being killed by men. Then in 2 months, December and January, 2 women killed men. They stabbed the men. Then I saw there was no uproar. Then people commented that if those were women being killed, there'd be an uproar. But when the men were killed, it's like there was not a big deal. But those women took knives and killed their boyfriend. So I say there's something not right here. Because now, murder is not a petty crime. When you kill somebody, it's serious. So if women are killing men, that's a problem. So now, that's why I say, are we taking the women killing men less seriously? And David and Juliana in Canada, the women kill men. Because in Kenya, it was just in 2 months where men were killed by women. I don't know about Canada. So I thought about that. It's like we're taking men being killed lightly. And my life is very, very serious. Thanks.
Okay. Muroki, I answer a question before Dorcas also speaks. And no, I don't think that women killing men is being taken less seriously or being taken lightly than men killing women. I think they're all being taken seriously. And this murder, this is not some kind of, let's say, a man beating up a woman, a woman beating up a man, or what. This murder. So when it comes to murder, it's a whole different ball game. We take it really, really serious, because if the victim is a man or a woman, so no, women killing men is not being taken lightly. It's being taken as seriously as men killing women. On your other question about of telling your girl children that boys or men are after only one thing, yes, that is really misandry. However, Wilkie, if you know that it is misandric in nature, were I ever to become a father, I will probably tell my daughter that men are after one thing only, and she should stay away from boys. Like, no, there's something that we can't really help ourselves when we think about it, right? For example, as Endeavor said, even knowing that what she thinks about Indian men is a bit, I'm saying here, racist, right? She can't help herself, because Indian men they have a really bad reputation, right? And that reputation is really deserved. Truly, individual Indians may be different as on an individual level, right? But like I said, they have a really bad reputation, right? In the same vein, so like you have to be really careful about certain individuals. Statistics don't lie. However, we really shouldn't. I don't know how to say it. Like, even keeping in mind of these generalizations that they have the truth kernel to them, we really shouldn't really take it far as being wholly truthful or applying that generalization to every single person that we come into contact with, right? So, as our advice in Devi to really try to keep a lid on on her nervousness around Indian men, I'll also I'll also tell tell the younger girls that even though men are after only, or generally men could be after only one thing from them, there are also good men over there. See, the problem over here is like, where is the line? Like, how many bad men do I have to go through to find a good man? Or how many bad Indians do I have to go to find a good Indian? Or are good men in the same numbers as bad men? And if so, how do I choose? You see, these things are really complicated. Okay, so I think that one there is yeah, you have to work it out on an individual level. So telling your daughter that men are after only one thing, whilst you are wrong to say it, if I were in your position, I'll probably do the same thing too. Even knowing what I know, I'll probably do the same thing too. So it is misandry, but some things I can, there are some prejudice and some prejudice and there's some bias that I can allow. I can permit myself to do. So Moroki, you are good to go to tell your kids or whatever girls that boys are after only one thing. All right,
Okay,
so that's what I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
one more thing. Dorcas asked a question about feminism being synonymous with misandry. Now, I want to tell the ladies, this is the danger. Feminists forget that one day they'll have sons, or they'll have daughters who love sons. So if they fight for their rights so much, they forget their sons might suffer from what they're fighting for. Some forget that they'll have sons one day. So they fight for women's rights. Then when they get sons, the sons might suffer. Thanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So you've heard Ricky. You are good. So Docas first. Docas, let's hear from you. Then go. Now hear from Devi.
Okay. Oh my gosh, there's so much to say, and yet we're out of time. By the way, Mr. Moderator, we need to start winding up.
So yeah. So Docas, that's what I want to say to you. Like, please keep your sentences and your essays really short,
Okay.
please.
I will do my best. Let me start with Morioki. Morioki, empowerment, female empowerment is not a zero-sum game. When we empower women, it does not mean that we are taking away men's rights. No. That's a misunderstanding. And in fact, I want to respond to my question. Is feminism synonymous with misandry? No. Feminism is defined as the advocacy of women's rights with the goal of equality. If somebody advocates for women's rights to the point that they dominate men, they want to keep men down or to hate on men, that is no longer feminism because it has removed the element of equality. For me, I always go back to that definition. When people bash feminists, by the way, feminism is these days a dirty word, especially on the internet. When you tell people you're a feminist, oh, you feminists, you're man haters. No, we are not. We are not man haters. We are just advocating for women's rights with the goal of equality. If you, as Morioki, feel that boys are being left behind, start a boys empowerment or men empowerment program. It's not a zero-sum game. And those are there women who call themselves feminists and hate men? Yes. But those women have moved from being feminists. Since their goal is no longer equality, their goal is dominating men. And that is misandry. They have now become misandrous people. They are no longer feminists. I want to make that clear. Feminism has gotten a bad rep. And this is because of the pejorative element of it. So no, it is not a
So,
threat. Feminism
Dorcas,
is not a threat to
Dorcas,
women, to men.
yeah, I'm still. I hope that you got my question that I asked earlier on, that you probably addressed it. I'm trying to remind you to address it if maybe you forgot my
Which one
question.
was it? Which one was it?
Like is misandry a really a big issue, or that we need to
Okay.
immediately address? That was my question.
Great. So let me proceed to that second aspect. Is misandry a serious issue? In my book, no. we are still in a patriarchal society, and men still have privileges. Not all men. There are men who suffer from those
You're killing men.
expectations.
You're killing men.
There are men who suffer from those expectations, those stereotypical expectations of, real men don't cry, real men are not vulnerable, etc. But all of them come from those masculinity expectations, patriarchal masculine expectations, which are not right. So in my book, it's not a serious problem, honestly speaking. Not in Kenya. But
And
in
men being
other
killed,
parts of the world, Morioki, I'll get to you. I already had you, and we're out of time. So maybe in other parts of the world, but here in Kenya, we still have a very long way to go when it comes to when it comes to overcoming the patriarchy. So, misandry, not so much. But I do acknowledge those examples that were given. We really need to work on them. So, two more things I wanted to say. This one of the gender pay gap, I see the moderator has even logged out. I disagree with you, Mr. Moderator. Please listen to this recording when you come back. I disagree with you. The gender pay gap is real. You are saying that women deserve to be paid less because of two major reasons. One, gender occupational segregation. They pick occupations that pay less. And two, because of maternity, or because of the decisions they make when they get pregnant. Those are the two main reasons why you are saying women deserve to earn less, Mr. Moderator as well. And this is where, oh my gosh, we as feminists have been arguing about systemic problems. Why is there gender occupational segregation? One, because of sexual harassment. If you're a woman and you go to an oil rig to work as an engineer, you're one woman, there are 50 men. Those men will sexually harass you. Talk to them. They've made the environment not conducive for the women there. That's why they continue to enforce the gender occupational segregation. Another thing is socialization and lack of role models. Female engineers, female architects, female mathematicians, etc., need to go to girls and show them that even women can do those high-paying work. Also, there's the tapering of women from leadership. As women continue to climb up the corporate ladder, they taper off. Why do they taper off? Because of marital responsibilities and child-rearing responsibilities. Now, that brings me to the second aspect. You're saying women are the ones who leave the workplace when they get pregnant. And so when they come back, it's difficult to measure up to the man that was there. Why is that the case? Because of this patriarchal expectation that it is a woman's job to raise the kids. And also because of unpaid maternity leave. In countries like Iceland, where they have closed the gender pay gap, almost, I don't think it's quite 100%, but they have almost closed the gender pay gap. They have paid maternity leave and paid paternity leave. So men assist in the rearing of children. We are both responsible, man and women. We are both responsible for bringing human beings into this world. So why are we giving that responsibility to just one gender? That is systemic discrimination. Men need to be involved in raising those children, but paid paternity leave, paid maternity leave. Also, make the workplace conducive for new mothers so that they can get back to work as soon as possible. Let's have the lactation stations where they can go and pump their breasts. Yeah? And let's have policies that just make that transition shorter and easier. That's how they have overcome it in Iceland. And the men over there are active fathers from their newborns. They take their paternity leave and they're involved. It's not just a burden thrown to women. That is the reason why we have a gender pay gap. I totally disagree with you, Azrael, on dismissing that component. Forget about the sports team. That's an anecdote. That's an anecdotal example. But with this other one, it's a systemic issue. It can be solved by making the work environment friendly to new mothers and by sharing the burden of child rearing between both parents. Why are they throwing women under the bus? Simply because of that. That's what I have to say on the gender pay gap. Last thing was what Morioki brought up. Men are being killed by their spouses, and it's not being taken seriously. That this is what Morioki feels. And I've explained this to you. The problem with Morioki, when he decides something, it is impossible to get him to change his mind. Well, I've explained this to you, but maybe we didn't have time during the hangout. I tried to explain it to you. Are there women who kill their spouses? Yes. We have had that in the news. There was that Miss Lanata who stabbed her boyfriend several times. Yes, there are women who kill their men, their spouses. There's androcide. Are there men who kill their spouses, or who kill women for being women, like the ones who find you on an online dating site and then they kill you? Yes. Where are the numbers? Women are disproportionately targeted. That time, I remember you showed us that story on the WhatsApp group of that woman who killed her husband. At that week, I made a point of listening to the news on cases of murder by spouses, and I found that the overwhelming number, I think that day people are just killing, that week, people are just killing each other. The number of women, of wives that are killed by their husband is significantly higher than the number of men that are killed by their wives. So attention goes to where there's a greater number. It's not that we are downplaying it. Men are murdered through other means and because of other reasons, like in business or being drunk or being in gangs and things which are actually their hands. Then for that one of androcide, the analogy of femicide, it is not as significant. The pattern is overwhelmingly leaning towards female victims. That's why it gets all the attention that it's getting. That's why the president has set up a task force to deal with it. It's not that we are downplaying it. The example you gave was just one. I looked at the entire week and there were more female victims. Yes, yes, there were three. There were more victims. There were more female victims. It's disproportionate.
But look, murder is murder. Eh? Murder is not joke. Murder is not joke.
Yes, but where are the patterns? More women are victims of gender-based violence than men. It's disproportionate. That's why we are putting resources there. So, okay, Morioki, I don't want us to go back and forth. Time is out. Time is out. Overall.
Thank you.
Yes, time is out. Overall, my perspective on this topic of misandry is that here in Kenya, I think the problem is just stereotypes. It's stereotypes, and it is people warning, like what Morioki talked about, warning your child about male behavior. It is better to be safe than to be sorry, honestly. Me, if I look back in my dating life, when I was younger, that was all men wanted. It was not a lie. So most of these things have a hint of truth.
It is
I
still
think.
what all they want.
Sorry?
I said it is still what all they want. So nothing has changed really much.
That's sad.
Nothing has
That's so
changed.
sad. That's very sad. That's sad.
Yeah. So overall, I think, yes, there are some issues that need tackling, like the unfair sentencing, mental health, men's mental health issues. Those ones, I think they warrant attention. But for the most part, these other issues have a kernel of truth. Thank you.
Thank you also very much. So I also agree with that sentiment myself, that it is not really that big of an issue over here. Really anywhere, basically. It's not really that big of an issue, right? Although you could say that's probably I don't know. There are some issues with it outside. I've heard of a case where, like, there was, I think it's Stanford University, right? Where I think this lady got rejected by a man. So basically, she went after the guy. The guy said no. Then he made a rape claim that he raped her or something like that. Then it got all over the news about Stanford, this thing or that thing. The guy, they weren't even done with a trial on the investigation. The guy got expelled out of the school really quickly. And it actually happens a lot where somebody gets accused of something, right? And then we just well, let me just leave it at that. But in Africa, yeah, it's not really an issue. Misandry is not really an issue. That's from my point of view, it really needs to be addressed or something like that. But maybe in the legal sense, right? Like as Doctors, you and I agree on the alimony, the criminal sentencing, those things. If it could be equalized a bit, I would very much be happy with it over there. Right. So that is my thoughts on it. But I also wanted to also address something that Doctor said too before in David's piece, that they paid maternity leave and they paid paternity leave, right? Is it really a misogynist thing, or is it an economic thing, so far as the business or the company is concerned? Okay. Is it something that is about the company or the society? Because from what I know, right, looking from the side of a businessman, paying a man because he got his wife pregnant, or paying a woman because she got herself pregnant, it doesn't really make sense economically wise at all. And if I were the businessman or the manager or the owner, I'll be very pissed or very unhappy to pay this person who is not working at this moment, to give her money or him money just because they're facing a
Azrael,
child.
Azrael,
Yeah.
would you pay somebody
Yes.
sick leave? What do you think about sick leave?
What, sick?
Yes. Should it also be scrapped? Because the thing is this, Azrael, we must
I do
capitalism. If we leave capitalism to be unbridled, it will oppress us as human beings. We must temper it by passing certain policies that are humanitarian in nature. That's why we have sick leave. If we left it to capitalists, we would never have sick leave.
But like, here is my point of view. I'm paying you for working a number of hours, right? You work, I give you this number, this amount of money. That's our contract, right? So it seems a bit iffy to me that for this number of months that you are pregnant, you're not working for me. You're not earning any money for me. You're not putting in any type of work into the company, and yet I am expected to give you this amount of money to you, whilst you are not doing literally nothing. Right. So I think that's where
that's the same logic with sick leave.
Yes, it is.
That's what you get. That's what you get for hiring human beings, not robots. We go through things. It's the same thing even with parents. When a child is sick and they have to go to attend to the child, it doesn't mean that you now go and deduct that amount from their salary. It's just life. It's being human. That's why we can't just be so rigid when it comes to our reasoning as employers. We have to consider the fact that we are human beings, and we have to pass policies that promote human flourishing.
All right, I understand. I know that we are going a bit off topic, but I want to simply also ask this question: should that responsibility be put upon the company that are working at, or the government who is so concerned about this thing should be the one to pay for it?
That's a good question.
Yeah, Debbie, if you can hear me, I think Dorcas can't hear me. So if you can hear me, please answer.
It is a good question, but remember that if your enterprise, if you're thinking that your enterprise is here for the next 1,000 years, I'm just saying, then you are not just concerned about the parents working for you throughout their working life, you're also concerned about the next generation that will be working and supporting your enterprise. But I think that the collective, that is the society, is responsible to make sure that the next generation is well brought up, is well supported. So I think that that is where the government that collects taxes from the collective, that's where the government comes in and can work together with the enterprise to raise a good society. Did I also lose you? That's right.
No, I think I can still hear you.
Okay. Yes. So that is that. Yeah, that is what for me. So that the enterprise does not carry such a heavy burden, or God forbid, that they do not hire women, because I know that there were enterprises that wouldn't hire women when I was looking for a job, and they said, "Oh yeah, women get pregnant." And it was very annoying to hear such a thing. Yeah, who should get pregnant then? Who is going to produce the next generation to work for the company? It is the women, and it's not like we can help it. We have to produce the next generation. That's it, and that's why you men are there to make sure that the next generation is well supported. Otherwise, where is your masculinity? My femininity. I got you. I got you.
Good point. A really good point in there.
Poor. Yeah. Okay. In French, we say poor. Point. Yeah. So the thing is that my femininity is in producing the next generation, carrying. I don't produce it alone, but I'll carry it for 9 months and nurture it, breastfeeding, and do all what is necessary to support the next generation. But I need support from the masculine, and I need support from my employer, which the masculines and the feminines should support that. Everybody should support that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay,
so
I do
let
understand
me
that, but
get to answer.
go
Can I get to answer the questions that is misandry a big issue?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I have a problem making that a big issue because we still are dealing with historical, biblical, religious issues that have given us men and told us that this is the caregiver, this is who takes care of everything. I mean, there is like, if you've been given to take care of things, you've been placed on a pedestal. You are so visible. You are the big deal. I think you are capable of dealing with some of those. They're small little things. It's like an elephant uh, being stung with a little needle. It's not such a big deal. The other gender is dealing with some really big issues. But me as the other gender, I would say, if you're going to fight fair, fight reasonably, have your points how you're going to fight, not just to fight that men are this and men are this and men are. Nah, that's not the fight. We need to say, what is our strategy? That is a little bit better than just throwing words around. Words around, they make us feel happy for a little bit, and yeah, we scored a point, but it doesn't get us where we want to go. The question that Muriuki had said that when I was a little girl, yes, and I was taught that yes, men are after just one thing. My father put it a little bit differently. He said that a man will bring their soccer ball to play in your field. It's up to you. it's up to you if you will let them play in your soccer field. I am telling you. Anyway, yes, I haven't met any one single solitary man that did not know what they were after. So I think they were right. But they did not tell me that, you know what, you have a lot of power, girl. And it is a word no. You choose who you are going to say no, and at what point you are going to say yes. And at what point you will decide, nah, that one is never. And by the way, yeah, women.
You're muted, Neve. You're muted.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. At what point did I lose you, everybody?
Just one sentence ago.
Oh, okay. Yes. So, yes. So a woman has got that power, and even a man has got the power to say no. He can wine me, dine me, but he has just decided, you big mouth, you big mouth. I'm not going beyond. I'm not going very far with you. You know, that kind of thing. Everybody has got that ability to say no, or even to finally decide, oh my goodness, I had decided I would never marry this person, but look at him, he's not that bad after all. I'll take a little bit of his shit, and I'm gonna give him a little bit of my shit, and then we are going to call it a household. Okay, the other question that Moriuki was saying, that women are killing men. Moriuki, do you know what makes news? You know what makes news? It's when a man bites a dog, not when a dog bites. That what when a dog bites a man, that's ordinary news. That is expected. But when a woman kills a man, that is news. Why? Because a man killing a woman is just common. It's just like a dog biting a man. That's why it is all over. And who is writing the news? Who is writing those news? It's a guy. And he's thinking, you mean Shiro could kill me? then he makes it a headline because it has just occurred to him that he's not just the one that could do damage. He has realized that, wow, damage can be done to me, that actually the human can bite a dog. So let's think about it that way. It's not because there are more women killing men. It's because there are more men reporting it, because it is out of the ordinary. The other question was, yes, in Canada, we do have a lot of gender-based violence.
And by the
mostly,
way, just a little bit, Ndebe, let me add something small, because I see Morioki listening with his teeth. When he's coming up with an answer, he listens with his teeth. So, Morioki, you gave us 3 cases from the news of cases where women have killed men, but you've not looked at all the statistics. This is why we keep telling you anecdotal evidence. Those examples are anecdotal evidence from the news. But you look at all the statistics.
Murder is murder.
Listen, Morioki, listen. You look at all the statistics. How many women were killed within this period of time because of femicide? How many men were killed because of androcide? You don't have those numbers. You just gave us 3 examples that you had from the news, anecdotal evidence. But the numbers were read out, and it was found that they disproportionately affected women. That's what I had to say. Focus on statistics. Focus on the overall pattern, not on this dramatic case or cases in the news. And as Neve has said, the dog, when it eats, when a man eats the dog, it makes news. You don't go generalizing from those 3 examples. Oh, women are killing men, women are killing men. Those are just 3 examples. The statistics show thousands of women are being killed through femicide. Then there are other murders, but as we said, the murders, even though men are disproportionately represented when it comes to murders, it is by other men. It is men killing men.
it is only hitting you because it is, like I said, it is the man biting the dog. That's why it is now finally hitting you. But it has, those murders have always been there, but maybe not as much reported. But now we do have women that well, they're like, well, no, I'm not going to face what my grandmother faced. I'm going to face, I'm not going to take this beating the way my grandmother took this beating. I'm not going to take it. There is more and more women that just, I will tell you that I would never kill somebody, but nobody is going to put their hand beyond my nose. I can just tell you that, over my dead body.
So, Neve, how about Canada? You're talking about Canada. How is Canada? Does that happen in Canada?
It's the same. It's the same. We lose about 100 women. That is out of our 30-something million. Well, maybe 40 million. We lose about 100 women a year to gender-based violence. That is women. Men homicide, as Doc has told you, men homicide, because it is homicide from man to man. It's it's not. But this one, I'm just saying the women. And I'm sure there are men. There are men who get killed by women, because women do kill men. Maybe not in as many numbers, but women do kill men. And actually, women set out to get away with it when they kill their husbands. They plan it, and they plan to get away with it by I don't know, maybe use food, poison, or whatever it is. Yeah, we have got an arsenal. Yeah, arsenal of bad things. Yeah.
Okay, my view is those women need help. Women need help also. If they're proving to be so violent, even women need to be taken care of, because they're acting like men. So women need help. They also need help. That's my point. Women need help with their temper and their violence.
Morioki, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can hear you.
as they have all said, right? The majority of violence that happens is mostly men on women when it comes to violence between the sexes. and it's men committing violence on the women, right? So when the opposite happens, it becomes news, right? Because really, you don't report on the sun shining in the sky, do you? But when you see there are two suns in the sky, you actually start freaking out because yes, there's an issue here. It's a very big problem here. So with men killing women, that is the norm. It happens. So like, just another day. But when a woman does it, that's when it becomes news, right? A woman has somehow overcome or overpowered a man and managed to kill him. So yes, these women who kill and the men who kill, they all need help. It's not one person needing more help than the other person. All of these people need help, and that help to me is prison. Prison. I will tell you this, but I don't really believe in rehabilitation of criminals. I don't at all. I don't, because I've seen with my own witness with my own eyes people who have been imprisoned, then they have come out. I myself have been a victim of it before. Somebody stole money from me that I really needed for something, for a business. It was really, really important to me. We caught a criminal. The guy was put into prison for about 2 years. Fast track 2 years later, after 2 years after he's been released, he comes again within 6 months, comes again and steal not mine, but my father's car. I've seen multiple instances whereby a husband has been imprisoned only for him to come out and then murder the wife who got him to prison. Rightfully so, who rightfully got him to prison. So I don't know. You see, we have minor crimes and we have major crimes, right? So for the big crimes like murder and all those kind of stuff, and by murder I mean first degree murder. I mean third degree murder, like the one which is deliberately you have deliberately murdered somebody, not by self-defense or by an asthma. You've really targeted and planned such things. I don't believe people can be rehabilitated from it. So there's also that. So
is there a crime of passion? Is there a crime of passion? What does that mean? A crime of passion. What does that mean?
To me too, with that too, people who commit crime of passion, that is people who commit or murders or crimes because of say love or some kind of like in a relationship type of thing.
Yeah. There's a difference
yes.
now. There's a difference now, right? There's a difference that she was angry at the man. Maybe she caught him cheating. So she just lost it. At that moment, she lost. She's not bad, but that moment,
to me,
she lost her temper.
But if you cannot control your emotion because of such, so what? Really? So what? Let the temper. So what? So you kill somebody? Oh, come on, Moroki. It really doesn't matter to me. So for me, there are certain crimes to me that when you commit, I would expect, or if it were in my power, I would have them lock you up forever. Right? I don't see prison as a rehabilitation zone. We have actual clinics there, right? So those who need rehabs should go to rehabs, and prison is a place to lock people away from society. Bad people, to lock them away from, keep them safe from the rest of law-abiding citizens.
People change as well. People change.
I don't think people change. I think people learn to hide their proclivities better. I don't think they change. You like, let's put end there. We are going off topic over there. So like, so Moroki, you didn't really answer the question. Is misandry something that should be addressed in our society, or is not really a big issue? So we can basically put it on the side. What do you think about that? Moroki, you are mute. Moroki, you are muted. So or you're muted.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I was disturbed by those three women. And that's why I thought of the topic. When I saw 3 women killing men in just a short span of time, I saw that here these women also need help. And then there's no approach. People just went, it was not a big deal. Yet it's murder. So I saw that they're taking the murder of men.
But
Like-
Moroki, in light of what you've heard throughout this entire session,
Okay,
right?
okay, I've heard.
What do you think about is misandry something that needs to be addressed, or is really not something that is truly important as at now?
Okay, as at now,
What's your
just and let's keep our eyes open. Keep our eyes open. Be on the lookout. That's what I'll say. Be on the lookout. Be vigilant. Both
So you are
men and
saying
women,
that-
be vigilant.
So basically, you are saying that it is why we should be careful. It's like it's not really that a serious issue, but we still keep our eyes open for it, right?
Yeah. It's not that bad, but
All right.
keep your eyes open. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Juliana, so I want to hear your thoughts on this. So like on the question, is misandry something that needs to be addressed now? Is it really that big of an issue currently, and that we should put resources and our time and energies trying to solve it? Or so, Juliana, I want to hear what you think. I think everybody has made their 2 cents on it. So I want to hear from you. Is Juliana still with us, or she's gone? Okay, I think she's not around. So
Maybe she's in a meeting.
Yeah, or she's like
She put a
so
She said that she's in a meeting.
so I think we should all give our final thoughts upon the topic. So we are going by rule. So Endeavor, let's hear from you. What are your final thoughts on the topic so far? Madam Endeavor, can you hear me? He's not responding. So Dorcas, let's hear from you. What are your final thoughts?
Okay. My final thoughts are that I've learned a lot from the discussion, and some of the examples that you gave really warrant concern. The issues on stereotyping men or downplaying men's mental health. I think that is really something that needs to be given the attention it deserves. And then we even have internalized misandry, where you find that there are men who discriminate against fellow men when those fellow men do not exhibit stereotypically masculine traits. Another thing I have drawn from the discussion is the fact that gender expectations or gender stereotypes are very restricting. I think all humans should adopt any traits that enable them to thrive. We need to be competitive, we need to be ambitious, we need to be financially independent as human beings. Those are regarded as masculine traits. But all humans, especially women who are taught not to have those traits, should have them. Additionally, we need to express our emotions, even the unflattering ones. We need to swallow our pride when we have done something wrong and apologize. And we need to show compassion. These are traits that are stereotypically associated with women. Men need to possess them as well for human flourishing. Because if we try to avoid them, then there are negative repercussions like the suicide crisis. Then we also need to change some aspects of our legal system that can exhibit misandry, like sentencing, unfairness, or false rape allegations. Those ones need to be nipped in the bud. What else? I think the others that are sometimes passed off as misandry are not really misandry. They are born out of misunderstandings of other concepts, like in feminism. As I said, a real feminist is the one that advocates for equality. But somebody can call herself a feminist, but her behavior is showing misandry. So we need to distinguish the two. Feminists love women, love men just as much as they love women, and we shouldn't perceive feminists to be threats. Our name has been tarnished for too long because of perverted versions of the movement. So there's that. There's also the aspect of misunderstanding, or rather, let me say, people fighting the patriarchy, people responding to the patriarchy, and that being construed as misandry. For instance, the For Be movement. You see what Azrael was talking about when it came to paternity leave and maternity leave, and women taking time off when they bear children. This is why For Be decided not to have kids. They decided not to have kids or to get married because of that social expectation that it's your job. It's just you women to do the child rearing. Yet they're still expected to go to work. So they're like, you know what? No, this stuff, we don't want any of it. So when they opt out because the system is unfair to women, they are being labeled as misandrous. Yet they're just protecting themselves. So I think some of these things are really based on realities, and we shouldn't demonize those groups. Anybody has the right to decide how they want to live their life. Overall, let's work towards a society which thrives. Let's not base our society on stereotypes, on gender stereotypes, because there's no gender police, or there's no sentence, there's no criminal sentence you will do because you did not exhibit a certain trait. And some of those traits can be toxic. Thank you, everyone. That's all I have to say as my closing remark.
Okay. So, Moroki, let's also hear from you. What are your closing remarks, your final thoughts on the topic?
Yeah, what I've learned, there's just male and female, just two of us. So the answer is be equal. There's no other 3, 4, 5, just male, female, two of us. So let's try to be equal. Then to Dorcas, those feminists who are misandries, tell them they might have kids who will get boys. Tell them not to hate men because their kids might have boys who will have a hard time. And then what else? Yeah, and also women, since they prove to be, women are proven to be violent, like they're violent. So let's take care of our women to control their temper because they're killing, they're showing the violence. So let's take care of our women. Then.
Moroki. My main man. Okay, so all very good points. So Moroki is really concerned about feminists giving birth to boy children.
Yes, the boys will suffer too.
Please, we scared for the boy children.
Yeah.
That's when you see your Misandry's feminist friends, pass on the message from Moroki to them when you meet them. Okay. So Ndevi wants to speak, so Ndevi, let's hear from you.
Yes, sorry, I was far when I could hear you, but there was nothing I could do about it. First of all, let me address the fact that misandry could just be an overreaction or rather a pushback to women gaining any ground. So I think really misandry is not really a problem. there's just a pushback. They are pushing back to what they are seeing as if we are getting any advantages. We're not even gaining any advantage. Nothing. We haven't gained any advantage, but it might seem as if we are, but we are not. I think it is just a pushback, with people overreacting to that, and therefore it's a pushback, because in the real world, real world, there is just no major. There is really no major hate for men. You know why? Because historically and institutionally, women have not even scratched the surface. So there is no problem. There isn't a problem. These are just words being thrown, and then for that there is pushback. However, we need to address the stereotypes. Stereotypes. All the time we have to address any stereotype that says this or the other. But we also have to know what is not a stereotype. That a man is going to be looking at, and wanting something, it is not a stereotype, guys. It is the truth. But we might be saying that, okay, guys, it is not a stereotype. Be in control. Control yourself. And hey, girls, you can always say no. And hey, it starts with an R and it ends with an IST. We are going to throw away the key. Don't you dare. A no is a no. Otherwise, we throw away the key. So I think these are things that people have to understand. What is a stereotype and what is just an actual. It is not a stereotype that I am responsible for carrying the baby for 9. It's not a stereotype. It's a biological reality. So it is just that I'm feminine. That is a reality. That the guy is masculine. That one is a reality. We have to just understand these things. And unfortunately, the leading is done by the loud people. And the loud people, as we've always known, they are not necessarily informed. They just have a microphone and they are loud. And it's not because they know what they are talking about. Then they ruin it for everybody. And then Einstein is sitting in the back of the room and thinking, why is she saying that? And it's not true. And Einstein is not coming up and telling her, no, that is not true. Just sit down. Warm your seat while I explain everybody how the theory of everything, how it works. Unfortunately, it's the person that has the microphone and doesn't understand fully what they are saying, that there are some things that are not right in what they are saying. They just will go with what they know, and they don't care to know what else might not fully comprehend. So that is the problem with what might be called misandry. Misandry is some people that are talking without filling all the gaps. Thank you. And so we need to work together with this thing and get both boys and girls to be fully informed as what their rights and the responsibilities of their gender is. Thank you.
All right. So that was Endeavor's opinion on the whole topic right now. Is Juliana still around? Juliana, can you hear us?
She went for a meeting as well. She went for another meeting in the chat.
All right. So on my thought on the topics. So earlier I said that it's not really a really big issue that we need to address when it comes to misandry. As on the social level. So in the legal matters, there are some things that need to be addressed. Obviously, the alimony, the sentencing, the child support thing too there. Yeah, so in the legal, I think those are the three main things that I am mostly concerned with. Those three things. Outside of that, when it comes to the social settings, it's not really that. Truly, it's really there. It exists, but it's not really that much of a social contagion that we need to really divert resources to and our attention to fix or to address. So that's my thought on that. But I also have to really give a nod or acknowledge the fact that yes, it does exist in certain instances, right? So let's say the stereotyping that we do, right? So generally, men are guilty of when a man is let's say charged with a crime, say rape, he probably did it as like so far as stats wise are concerned, men are more generally guilty of rape than not. However, when it comes to individual cases, I think we should also be careful and examine individual cases as they come and go. Right. So just because men tend to be rapists, generally that this man right now, right here on trial or being accused of a rape is really guilty. Right. So it happens a lot whereby somebody is accused of something and that violence or sexual assault or rape against a woman. Then the whole internet, the whole social media thing, they jump on this man and assume automatically that he's guilty. Then this man has his life, basically if he's a student, he gets expelled, right? I'm still sad about the Mendy Manchester City situation where he was falsely accused of rape, and Manchester basically told him to fuck off, even though the trial was still ongoing. I'm a football fan, so that when that thing happened, it really shook me up. I'm still angry about that situation with Mendy. So there's also that thing whereby although they are stereotypes and sometimes most of them they are true, right? We should really take case by cases things on the individual level so we can judge them independent of the statistics as we go along. I mean, I don't think anybody here will be really, I'll say, I don't think African Americans will be really happy if the police or the judge system were to judge them according to the statistics, right? I mean, we all know that the crime rate in relation to the African American society in the US, if we were to simply assume that all Black Americans are this or that, and then when it comes to their in their cases, we say that they are guilty because stats wise, this is what they are capable of doing, or this is what they do. I don't think any one of us here will be very happy about that. So we should also be very careful not to apply that same thinking to the men and female cases too as well. So yeah, that's what I think. So I think we'll end here for now. We are done with the topic today. So Dorcas, I'll hand it over to you to finish everything now.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for taking us through this very nuanced topic. I think many of us were scratching our heads, wondering how the conversation will go, but it went to all the right places. So thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for taking up this duty. And also for all the people that have contributed. El Maestro was here, but sleep got the best of him. Juliana was here initially, gave us an example and disappeared. And then we had, was there any other person who spoke? No, I believe those are the people that left. Then the ones that spoke included Deve. Thank you so much for all those contributions and for tying in this discussion to the female empowerment movement as well as the historical component. And thank you, Marioki, for your contribution as well. We know you. when you decide something, hey, even forklifts cannot remove you from that position.
No, Doctor, take care of women. Take care of women. Let's take care of women in that temper.
Morioki. The thing is, we have limited resources. So if we divert resources to every little thing that comes up in the news, we will be inefficient. We will divert those resources away from the more prominent issue. Like I said, that example of the 3 women was anecdotal. Maybe that week there were several female murders, there were several androcide cases, but in other situations, you look at the general pattern for the whole year. The general pattern for the whole year is that most of the cases are femicide compared to androcide. So we take resources where the numbers are. Otherwise, it will not be cost effective. It just won't. But anyway, that is Morioki for you.
I care
When
for
you
women.
decide,
I care for women.
no, it's not that. It's just you're stubborn. When people tell you something, you just don't accept it. You're very stubborn. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. Please remember to make your contributions for our hangout. Remember also to side chat me on any topic you would like us to discuss, either for the video shoot or for upcoming Zoom meetings. And it would be preferable for the video shoot that the topics relate to beliefs, religious beliefs or lack thereof. Okay. Yeah, please chat me if you have any suggestions. We have 2 slots for that. Otherwise, thank you for braving through all these 3 hours plus. I wish you a lovely weekend ahead and see you next week.
Okay, so before I leave, I want to recommend a video to you guys. I think it's a Jubilee video on YouTube. Alex O'Connor versus, I think there was a debate with him and versus some Christians. So you check it out. It's on YouTube, on the Jubilee YouTube platform. So I think you guys will be very interested in it. So right.
Was that
Put
the
the link.
25 against 1? Was that the 25 against 1?
Yeah, with Alex O'Connor.
Yes, somebody posted it in the, or it was
Okay.
something else.
Yeah, so I think you guys should check it out. I think you love it. So
We did. Yeah, it was something. It was very interesting. In fact, I'm going to watch it a second time.
all right. So I will see you guys at another time. Have a very good evening.